On the day, heavy rain prevailed over most parts of Namibia, as if in anticipation of the unprecedented morning lying in wait for Namibians. In a heavy downpour accompanied by thunder and lightning, our news crew went to Old State House in the small hours of Sunday morning. They found the then acting President Dr Nangolo Mbumba in the presence of Minister of Home Affairs, Immigration, Safety and Security, Dr Albert Kawana, and lawyer Caesar Namanje.
The Namibian nation has lost a distinguished servant of the people, a liberation struggle icon, the chief architect of our constitution, and the pillar of the Namibian House. At this moment of deepest sorrow, I appeal to the nation to remain calm and collected, while the government attends to all necessary state arrangements, preparations, and other protocols.
That shock announcement set off a series of events. The Namibian Broadcasting Corporation started with a continuous live broadcast on the day. Dr Nangolo Mbumba, then still acting president, convened an emergency cabinet meeting. In between, messages of shock and condolences started pouring in. Internationally, Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel was the first to react, saying the Caribbean island is deeply pained to say goodbye to President Geingob, a dear friend to Cuba. As Namibians woke up to the news, the outpouring of shock and grief became palpable. The ruling SWAPO party, its leader, no longer at the helm, had its vice president making an announcement.
In honor of this true son of the soil, may we come together, stand together, hold hands together, and continue to push forward in the true spirit of solidarity, freedom, and justice.
The Namibian cabinet, after a 2-hour deliberation on Chapter 5 of the Namibian Constitution, particularly Article 27, 28 and 34, dealing with the succession of a president, moved swiftly. Later that afternoon, a briefing was called at State House to swear in Dr Mbumba as Namibia's 4th president. At the same time, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah was sworn in as vice president, taking over from Mbumba and relinquishing her portfolios of Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of International Relations and Cooperation.
It's poignant and reassuring to note that today, even in this time of heavy loss, our nation remains calm and stable. This is owing to the visionary leadership and foresight of President Geingob, who was the chief architect of the Namibian Constitution and the champion of our governance architecture based on sound processes, systems, and institutions.
It's an honor, and with a sense of responsibility, that I have accepted the appointment to serve in the office of the Vice President.
Current became former in a space of half a day. With stability having been consolidated and continuity secured, the stormy waters now being navigated with the captain at the helm, the speed of action was hailed across the world. The business of government had to continue, and on Friday, 5 days after the untimely demise of the late Dr Geingob, further announcements were made. The appointment of Nandi-Ndaitwah as vice president left 2 vacancies. As in line with the Namibian constitution, the vice president of the country cannot hold any other portfolio. President Mbumba announced at State House that John Mutorwa, Minister of Works and Transport, now becomes Deputy Prime Minister while holding on to his ministerial portfolio. Dr Peya Moshelenga, formerly of the MICT Ministry, becomes Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, with his former Deputy Minister Emma Theophilus taking over the reins as Minister. Former NBC journalist and now MP Modestus Amutse was confirmed as Deputy ICT Minister.
The responsibilities and duties of the Deputy Prime Minister are clearly articulated in the Constitution. But in summary, it boils down to assisting the Prime Minister in the execution of those tasks that the Prime Minister would like the Deputy Prime Minister to carry out.
My appointment was occasioned by a vacancy that occurred under very sad circumstances. So I'm still engulfed in sorrow, mourning the President. But as a country, in as much as we are mourning, as the President said, we have to keep the system moving, and we have to accept the reality or the moment that we are in, that institutions need to run.
And I'm grateful that he has entrusted me with this great responsibility at this level, and that with the knowledge I've acquired in the past 4 years, I hope that in the next very few 12 months, I'm able to execute to the best of my ability.
This would not be a new territory to me, because at Parliament I have been the chairperson of ICT and Innovation Committee, where we also handled matters relating to policy evaluation and advice when it comes to activities of ICT and innovation in the country.
While that was ongoing, the National Ministerial Preparatory Committee on the arrangements for the late Dr. Geingob, chaired by Prime Minister Sarah Kukongelwa Amadila, had its work cut out. In the same week, funeral arrangements were finalized and the dates for the main memorial service and state funeral were announced. Many observers have noted that while the nation was rocked to its foundations, swift action backed by the Namibian Constitution allowed for handling the unexpected, while the unity of purpose witnessed across the nation is another feather in the cap of the land of the brave.
Land of the brave, in spite of the pain, let's celebrate a legendary father. We say